Alright, for the cone, you're going to want to make sure you flux the right side. So Bobby, can you show us the difference between the sharp side and the folded over side? One side is going to be folded over, one side is sharp. This side's the folded over side, and this side is the sharp side. Alright, so show us which side will flux. We'll want to flux the sharp side facing towards us. And then also you flux on the other side too, right? Yep, flux the seam as well on the other side. Next is going to be clamping the pieces correctly. With the cone, I love the cones. There's no real wrong way to do it. You want to just make sure it's overhung enough. So with the clamps, we're going to match the bottom up first to make it look nice. Come on, a little closer. Okay, perfect. Yep, so we match the bottom up first. You got about a 2-inch overhang on the bottom. Right there is the overhang. And then on the top, what do you go for, Bobby? About a 1/4 inch on the top?
A little over sometimes.
A little over?
Half inch.
Get a decent chunk.
Most.
Yep. Show them how you'd be able to go in and out with that. Make sure you guys have gloves on. I'm going to clamp the top now. Okay. Perfect. So now show them the other clamps that we're going to be using. The longer clamps. So we're going to be using. Everything's good. Yep. Just start clamping the sides now. So the reason why we clamp more is because we wouldn't want to just solder it just like this. We really want to clamp the crap out of it, make it so those gaps are filled. There should be no gaps. If there is a gap, plan on filling it with the solder. Low heat, low temperature. So these C-clamps are going to help close up the gaps and get the copper touching each other. You can see the gap clearly in the video right there. We're going to be closing that gap up so we don't fill it with solder as much. Okay. Make sure you don't go too tight. The copper is very soft. If you go too tight with it, you'll actually make some dents in the copper, so be careful with that. So Bobby's continuing to clamp. You don't want to clamp on the seam because you're going to be soldering the seam. All your pieces that you're soldering are always from the inside. Don't solder them from the outside unless you're doing it for added security. Added solder. Okay. One more clamp, the long clamp. This is a $20 or $25 clamp that you guys will most likely need to go buy unless you already have it. This is for the large pieces, for the 20 gallons, the 30 gallons, etc. Swap that out for another one. I think I got it. Awesome. Awesome. Now you'll flux the seam again on the outside. Sorry, on the inside. Yep. You want to get both sides. Now, Bobby, when you're soldering it, I want you to go nice and slow. You start off with the heat here. You get this hot. You continue to move the flame up. And you start applying the solder behind it because the copper's already hot. You don't have to go too hot either. Yep, that's a good angle. Try to go like this as much as you can. A long strip. That way your arm's not in there as much. So we're starting with the flame. You don't want to get it too hot, just enough to the point where the solder starts seeping into the copper. Notice how Bobby's heating the left side, which is the folded over side, where there's 2 layers of copper instead of just the one. The goal is to have that flame pull the solder in to the seam. The first run up the whole way is just to fill it as much as possible. I'm always telling the guys, push it in there, push it in there, push it in there. You want it dripping out on the other side. That's why I laugh at these guys when our competitors, when they say, oh, look at those solder drips. You want that dripping on the other side, making sure that it's full as much as possible. So notice how he's also using gravity to his advantage. He doesn't have seam to seam flat. He has it kind of sloping down, so the gravity will help getting that solder towards the seam. Alright, that's one way of doing it. Now, Bobby, let me see it. Push as much as possible. You want that solder filling up in there. You don't want to get it too hot. If you get it too hot, you'll get the flux out, reflux the whole thing. Get it to cool off. Flame ahead, solder behind. Pushing it into the seam. Push as much as you can. That first run, the whole first run is meant for the solder to go into the seam. Whenever you're soldering, you want it to go into the seam. Second run, you're making it look nice. Now before you do the second run, you're going to want to do what Bobby was doing. Have the heat on the left-hand side, and you'll actually see it bubble. If there's space for the solder to move, it will move. How's it looking on the outside? Seeped the whole way? Okay. So what Bobby just did was he checked from the outside to make sure you could see the solder line. Last, you wait for it to cool off, you flux it down again, clean it all up. Now you're going for the second line, which is called the fill line. You're filling it. The first line, you're filling the overhang, the gaps. The second line is the finish line. You're filling the line still, but you're finishing it. So lower heat. You've already done the work. Now you're going lower heat. You're making this nice. You're making this lifetime guarantee right here. Okay, low heat. Filling it up, making sure. Let it cool down. You don't want to touch it while it's still lava, while it's still hot. You want to let it cool down. Now a trick for this too is putting tinfoil around the clamps. Because if you see up here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I actually got solder on one of the clamps, so when we take off all the clamps, it's going to be a little hard. So if you put tinfoil on there, it'll be easier to take all the clamps off. All right, so you let it cool down. You don't want to touch it. It's not structurally secure yet. All right, so once it's cooled off, you can start taking the clamps off. Go ahead, Bobby. And that's how you do a cone.